Do you think the Palestinian paper, what do we call the Palestinian Papers, or the release of those documents a few months ago that revealed some of the secret negotiations going on between Israel and Fatah, drove a wedge between Fatah and Hamas?
Yeah, because Hamas is an Islamic republic de facto in the Gaza Strip right now. They do not want to recognize the Jews have a right to have a state in the Middle East. They say that the whole state of Israel is Palestine, their state. They totally are involved in resistance. They do not want to give 1 inch. And Fatah, though Mahmoud Abbas, you remember, he was the #1 lieutenant for Yasser Arafat. When he took over, I said, well, there's Yasser Arafat in a business suit. And that's basically what Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, is. And he's trying to go to world leaders and say, look, if we have a state, it's not going to be what we see unfolding, all these terroristic acts. We'll have coexistence. Well, the Israelis are much concerned about that because we're saying, hey, wait a minute, if this faction over here and this faction over here don't agree, and if the only way they can get together is to agree and get rid of us, then where are we if we give them a Palestinian state? And the fact is, he said, and Prime Minister Netanyahu said, I'll go to the negotiating table with any of the Palestinian leaders. All they have to do is say one sentence. We recognize Israel has a right to be a state in the Middle East. They won't do that. And so that's the situation. And I think a unilateral declaration of a Palestinian state in the United Nations is going to bring war in the Middle East, for sure, because the Israelis are going to reject it outright, immediately. And when that happens, not only at the United Nations in New York in the General Assembly, but in Jerusalem, and when that happens, the Palestinians are going to go to the street, and the Israeli Defense Force is going to have to do something.
Now, is this a unilateral announcement still on schedule? Is it still going to be made?
Absolutely. Well, there is manipulating going on at the Security Council right now because the United States has threatened to veto it. They're permanent member of the Security Council. But there's manipulation going on. And what's so interesting to me, at the time of the declaration that's to be made, there are Arab leaders. An Arab leader heads up the Security Council, an Arab leader will head up the General Assembly, and they're doing everything. The Arab League, the 23 member states of the Arab League, they're all behind it. They're ready to indeed go to bat for the Palestinians. It's going to be a tough situation. We need to watch it very closely because when it breaks out in Jerusalem, the Arab League is going to come to their aid immediately. And then the rest of the Islamic world, countries that are not Arab, like Turkey. I mean, Tayyip Erdogan, he's always talking about what's going on in the Gaza Strip. Like Turkey, like Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, they're all going to come to the aid of the Palestinians. That's why I believe Ban Ki-moon, when he became the Secretary General of the United Nations, said his #1 priority was to bring resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because that would then bring a peaceful existence in the Middle East. But the Bible tells us that's not going to happen until Jesus Christ comes back.
Now, when you say these countries will come to the aid of the Palestinians, are you sure about that? I mean, they're full of talk, but I haven't seen much coming to the aid of the Palestinians to this point in time.
If you're talking about giving them support financially, that is correct, they have not. But if you're talking about dealing with the Israeli nation and the Jewish people, they're going to have to, because they've made too many pronouncements and they've stood. Mahmoud Abbas has met with all the leaders. You have the former head, Amir Musa, who was the head of the Arab League, now probably going to be the president of Egypt when they have their national elections. You got the Muslim Brotherhood that are backing him. You've got, Hezbollah up there in Lebanon. So you're going to bring Lebanon in. I mean, Hezbollah basically is controlling Lebanon. The leadership of the country is being pulled around on a little string or ring in the nose by Hezbollah. You have the situation in Syria, and I think Bashar Assad, the best thing for him to do to divert the world from looking at what he is doing is attack Israel. So that being the case, everybody around the borders, and look, King Abdullah over in Jordan, he's having some problems as well. He's not a Palestinian. He's a Hashemite. and 70% of his population is Palestinian. They're ready to come across the border right this minute. So when you just look at the states surrounding Israel, they're going to jump on the bandwagon, and I think all the others will come to the fore as well.
It won't be the first time that the state of Israel has been actively surrounded by those who want to
That's true.
destroy them. We're making a special offer for today, tomorrow, and the following day, 3-day offer of Israel Under Fire, the prophetic chain of events that threatens the Middle East. Jimmy DeYoung and I will continue this conversation tomorrow. But this is a book that is fascinating. The interviews with various Israeli leaders is there. There's also a segment on the return of Christ and the end time events. There's a lot in here for digestion. And if you have any interest at all in what's happening in the world as it relates to the scriptures, you want this book. Israel Under Fire, the prophetic chain of events that threatens the Middle East. There it is. You can call 1-800-265-3100, or you can log on to crossroads.ca. Those are the ways, the coordinates for you to get this book, 1-800-265-3100 or crossroads.ca. So either call or log on. This is a limited time offer, and remember, friends, your best ministry gift helps make this ministry sustainable. We'll be back with Jimmy DeYoung again tomorrow, and I look forward to it. I'm sure you do too. Thanks, Jimmy. Talk to you again.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.